Hi, I'm Tom Lauk, City of Marshfield's Communications Director, and thank you for joining me on Council Preview. I want to thank Steve Barg, our City Administrator here. Thanks for coming. And we're talking about another council meeting. It's going to take place August 13th. As always, we do this preview a week before, which is good news for our public like you guys to watch. Thank you for joining us again. We're going to go right into it because we have 25 minutes here to go. And again, you can always tune in at 6 p.m. For the council meeting on August 13th on channel 991. And we're going to be Facebooking live the event as well. So if you have Facebook, please tune in to the city's Facebook account. Page or like that page, and you can watch it there as well. All right, Steve, let's talk about right up to staff updates. You have something here reminding of a special meeting on the 29th.
Yeah, I want the council and the citizens to know about this. We have two special meetings coming up in the next month, Tom. We maybe have touched on them before, but the first will be on August 29th. It's part of our new budget process. That's where agencies outside of city government will come in one after another. They'll go to the podium and say, look, we'd like to get money from the city budget. Here's what we do for your community. If we give us $10,000, we would do a program here. Here's how it would benefit the citizens. And the council will just take all that information. They'll ask questions. There'll be Q&A. And then they'll file that away in their minds. So when we get to October and it's time to vote on the city budget, they'll know if they want to take pieces of those proposals from these outside agencies and fold them in to the overall budget. So it's like, tell us what you do, how you do it, why is it valuable, and answer questions, and then we're more up to speed on where these dollars would go. The other one is on the 4th of September. You've been part of lining this one up. I really thank you. And that'll be a time when not only the council but committee members can come and learn some things about ethics and conflict of interest and public officials' liability. When you get onto a council or committee, you may think, okay, how could I get in trouble? Not that I want to get in trouble, but if I vote on something that my brother-in-law owns the company, is that wrong? What about some of these conflicts that come up, whether or not I'm acting in the best interest of my job as a council member or a committee member so that I don't get in legal trouble? So we're going to walk through some of these, and that'll be on September 4th.
All right. Let's go back a little bit. I just want to talk a little bit about the people that need to ask for request money. Because this is something new.
It is.
The city's doing. Now, it's not uncommon in other municipalities to do this. So this is something that the staff as well as yourself wanted to approach to make sure that our dollars are being used in the best possible way. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've had some agencies, Tom, that have gotten money every year in the budget process. And, it's good we've helped them out, but we're critiquing whether or not Dan Connect needs this much money for streets or whether Justin Casperson needs this money for parks. We really ought to look at all the requests, including the ones that are for good things in the community that we've helped on, and say, well, are you clearing the bar too? Is it a situation where it's a good use of $5,000 or $10,000 for the city from budget funds to say, yes, we want to help your agency because this is what it does to make this a better community. So it's really kind of putting everybody, city departments and other agencies, ultimately into one melting pot. What's the best use of our limited resources?
All right. So we call those a special common council meeting. Is that
correct? It'll be called to order by the mayor the way any other meeting is. Okay. It'll start at 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 29th of August, and but it'll be people parading one after another to the podium. They may have PowerPoint for all I know or whatever, and then the council members will be able to say, well, how many people does your project serve? What benefit it is, those kind of things. So they get a sense of the true value to our community. And then, like I said, they'll keep it in the back of their mind for a few weeks until they get into the bigger picture of voting for the budget.
Right, which will be taking place more in October.
In October, correct.
All right.
Correct.
Board of Public Works took place on Monday, August 5th. There's 3 items here that we want to talk about that we presented on Tuesday.
Yeah, one of them is what we call an RFP, and of course government loves to throw initials around. We're going to have some more here in a minute with CDBG, RLF. You kind of wonder if people at home are thinking A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
I think they are. I'll work towards getting everybody off those acronyms here as best
See,
I can.
Sesame Street was helpful.
Yeah.
But this RFP is a request for proposals. Now that we're moving forward, Tom, to build a new aquatic center, which is really exciting. Replacing Hefco Pool is great. What Justin Casperson is saying, and he went to the Board of Public Works and now he wants to come to the council, let's get a company to oversee the construction on behalf of the city. There's 2 ways you can do a construction project. One is you just pick a good general contractor and you trust them to do the work and keep the cost down and all that. But another model is where you say, we're going to get a general contractor, but we're separately going to hire a construction manager who will be out there every day for us, making sure that everything's being done right, that costs are being kept in check, that if there's change orders because of conditions, that somebody's minding the store to make sure that, in fact, our overall project is being watched by somebody who is working directly for us. So we want to get some proposals. If you flip to what I've got there, you see there's a whole document, I think about 6 pages, of what we're looking for. So as we send these out to companies that might be interested, it talks about the project schedule on the second page. We expect to be getting proposals by September 6th, and we walk through the whole process on how we would pick the company that we want to work with to oversee the construction management. So there's people probably watching us right now who think, is that overkill to have somebody watching the construction company? Again, we're talking about a multi-million-dollar project, so clearly it's in our best interest to have someone keeping track of the timetable, the cost, the materials being the appropriate ones being used, and the construction being suitable.
So this is just for a contractor, is that correct?
This is for a contract management company. So
Okay.
they really, they're going to get familiar with the project. They're going to be part of the discussion with the general contractor that gets picked for the work. But their main job is to, as this is unfolding, to make sure that the things we're expecting, if this is being built for $6 million, let's say, and here's the design, that somebody's out there regularly making sure that it's being built as designed and that the costs are being kept in check, the materials are not substandard, the workmanship is good. It's somebody basically doing our bidding, for lack of a better term.
Okay. So now the pool, though, that's going to actually construct the pool, that's already been chosen, is that correct?
No, we don't. We don't have a contractor yet
Okay,
to build
we
the
don't
pool.
even
We
have
don't.
it.
No,
Okay.
that'll be coming later, I believe.
Okay.
We've retained Ayers and Associates for the engineering and design services, but ultimately,
Okay.
so think of it as 3 pieces. Ayers will be doing the engineering and design, and we're picking somebody to be getting familiar with the project, who will do working with them to make sure they understand what the project is about. Ultimately, we'll end up bidding it out for a general contractor to build the pool.
Okay.
But at that point, what the construction manager will be doing, he'll be looking at the drawings and making sure everything's built according to plan and within cost, and like I said, with good workmanship.
Yep.
That's the principle behind it. And this is not to be disparaging toward general contractors. There's some great general contractors in the city. But it's somebody who would be working on our behalf to make sure that everything's done right.
Yeah, we're not,
So-
it helps, and they're professional in that area. Great.
Well, and Justin Casperson and Dan Kinneck, they can't be out there every day watching somebody build a pool. They've got other things to do. So we want somebody minding the store, if you will.
Yeah, good point. And on the agenda for the Public Works piece, Wildwood McMillan Trail is on there as well.
Yeah, this is a project that predates you, Tom. It actually predates me, and I've been here for 8+ years. It's a long-time vision of having a trail that connects all the way from the city's north border along McMillan Street by the clinic, all the way down to the Wildwood Park and Zoo area, and so that it's continuous. You don't want trails that stop and start. If you really want people to use your trails, they should be able to, even if they're on a portion of a sidewalk or along a roadway, there should be markings so that it's continuous.
Yep.
So right now we've been trying to work things out with the clinic to finish that part up on the north end. We look for bids for that portion directly abutting the clinic. And we got 2 bids, and the low one was from Earth Incorporated of Arpin, $160,000. And what that covers is utility relocation, joint sealing, pavement marking, signage, traffic control, even landscaping to make sure that it looks appealing for people to go out and walk. And these monies paying for these portions of the trail as we've gone along, Tom, have come in large part from grant monies that have come to us from the federal and state agencies. So that's paid for a good deal of this project. But it's good to be on the threshold of completing it.
All right. And then there's one other item that you wanted to mention here, Board of Public Works resolution, is that right?
Yeah, we have one of these every year, but people sometimes get surprised when they get a notice in the mail,
Okay.
But, you have the sidewalk portions, and you're responsible for shoveling during the winter and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is that when there's replacement, it's considered to be a benefit to you. So if they have to replace slabs, they would charge for that. And in fact, there's a process for how that happens. But what this is doing, this is a resolution that actually has behind it, has the names and property owner addresses of the people who are affected by those portions that need to be repaired or replaced.
Okay.
And ultimately there will be some small charge to the property owner for that. But you see some of these and you see cracks and sometimes you see a lip like this,
Yep.
and you know it's not safe. Somebody comes along, even a person without a mobility problem, but if you have a mobility issue, maybe you have a cane, you have a wheelchair, whatever, those are very hazardous. So we want to make sure that our public sidewalks are cared for. So I just wanted to note for the people that we're trying. We budget about $30,000 a year to do some of this stuff and cover the costs, but then we ultimately are looking for some reimbursement from property owners as well. It's a good program.
How do we get these names? Is it somebody from like an ordinance control or a public works going, or do they actually ask us to fix it?
Well, it's public works that does this. Now,
Okay.
in some cases, let's say you and I live next to each other, and I might call and say, look, the sidewalk down the road here past Tom's house is really broken up. They would come out and look at it. But sometimes it's from actual, I believe, inspections that they do on their own where they're out and about just trying to see if the sidewalks are safe.
Okay.
I think we probably get information both ways.
Okay.
But anyway, it's something that nobody wants to see a hazard. So
Right.
even if people look at this and say, oh my gosh, I got to pay a little bit toward this, well, do you want an unsafe sidewalk in front of your house? Probably not.
Probably not. So basically what you're saying is maybe their name isn't on the list, but feel free to always call maybe
Oh, yeah.
the public street.
Yeah, you call Public Works. You could
Public
actually call the
Works.
ordinance officers too.
Okay.
But I think that usually ends up with Public Works.
Okay.
And they
Public
they
Works.
really want to make sure that the sidewalks are safe, just like the streets being safe.
Okay. So that's the way the public can engage by
Correct.
by saying, hey, can you fix this, and understand they have to pay.
Yeah,
for it.
and you're all about community engagement.
Oh, you
we
bet.
need to get the public to be more our eyes and ears.
Yeah.
I've had people say to me, even after church services or out in a cafe, they say, when are you going to deal with that problem over on whatever street? And I'll say, don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about. I look at that every day.
Yeah.
You look at it every day.
Right.
I don't, and maybe others don't. You need to pick up the phone and tell us,
Yep.
or send an email.
Yeah, definitely. And as I get more involved, and you guys know that about me, as a director of communications, I'm going to look at new ways for people to
Yeah.
report those issues.
That's great.
That's the way to do it. And,
Yeah.
we're not going to get rid of old ways. Telephone is a great
Right.
tool, and sometimes that's the best tool. Email, but
Email,
look,
social media.
Yeah. So over the next year or two, that's one of my goals.
Yeah,
to
I think
do that.
the thought a lot of people have is, if I've seen it, then other people have seen it. Well, A, they might not have seen it, and B, if they have, guess what? They might not have told us either.
That's right. Well, let's move down the list here. We have another resolution here that you're talking about awarding the sale.
Yeah.
And this is it's a big amount, 15 million, right?
Yeah. You remember about 5 weeks ago we had Dave Ferris from Ellers, and this is about new borrowing, but it's also about a lot of refinancing. Think about at home if your mortgage is still at 6% or something, and you're thinking, honey, why are we paying 6%? We need to refinance and get a better rate. So some of that 15 million, actually a fair amount of it, is debt from 2009 and 2010 that was much higher interest rates. And what we're doing is using the opportunity to fold them together and get a much lower rate. We're expecting, Tom, that the rate of borrowing on this will be close to 2%. Well, I mean, that's way less than we paid for these bonds initially back in 29 and 2010 that we're still paying on every month, every year. So other debt, though, that we're incurring are for regular street projects, for expenses related to the new pool, some fire station expenses, I believe. I think there's a new fire vehicle coming online. So it all adds up to about $15 million. But when people hear that, they're going to think, wait a minute, I thought your normal borrowing was like about $4 or $5 million. This involves a tremendous amount of refinancing.
Okay. You say normal borrowing. Is that something that our city or other cities do that every year, 4 or 5 million?
Yeah, we borrow, I don't know about other communities, but we borrow about $4 million a year. Usually about 75% of that, if not more, is for street improvements. Street projects are very expensive. And then there's usually a part of it, maybe 500,000 to $1 million, that's for park improvements or fire improvements or whatever. But the lion's share of it is to do major street work.
Because the tax levy just can't cover all that. Is that right?
Well, correct. And actually, part of the deal with borrowing is because then if you borrow, you pay back over 20 years or whatever. Well, that way the new people move in. I moved in 2011. Why shouldn't I have part of the fund in terms of helping to have the annual budget tie back to my benefit? The reason you borrow for streets especially is because they last for a long time. They're an improvement that can last 40 or 50 years. So, paying it back over 10, 20 years or whatever is fairly reasonable.
Right, and then we get a great interest rate.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be
2% is going to be.
that's going to be a major savings.
Yeah.
So
It may even be below 2%, but
Well,
certainly around 2%.
that'll be locked in not on Tuesday night, but at a time close after if it's
Yeah. I mean, we're authorizing what we'll do on Tuesday night if the council all finds this to be appropriate. When they see the number, they're going to see the interest rate and they're going to see the low bidder, and they're going to be asked by Ellers, do you want to pull the trigger? I mean,
Okay.
these are all the things you wanted to do,
Yep.
and we've come back. Maybe let's say we have 6 bidders and the low bidder is 2%. Do you still want to pull the trigger? If they say yes, and we approve the resolution, then we'll get the money late in August, I believe.
Okay.
And be able to.
So and then we can lock in a rate.
Correct.
Right then.
That's
So
correct.
the rate hasn't been locked in, but
No.
you know,
No.
we
No.
want to
It will be when
before. But the feds, I think, have actually lowered some rates.
I think they have.
recently.
I think they have.
So-
But we're hoping to get good bids because there seems like there's people interested in our bonds. And I'd be hopeful that we get at least 4, if not more, bidders, but we won't find out until early next week.
All right. Item P here at the end of the agenda, excuse me, an annexation of a territory, and that means it's not in the city of Marshfield. But we want to detach from the town of McMillan. Tell me a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
there's a property near Highway 97 in the town of McMillan, and my main point here is I want people to know that the city of Marshfield and the town of McMillan have adopted a joint boundary agreement. In this agreement, and I've printed off some pages in this packet, it talks about, okay, in these areas, this is what happens, in these areas, that's what will happen. The town, actually there's a map toward the back of your packet, the last page. The town has agreed that as growth and development occur, there are certain areas that will plan together. There are certain areas that will become part of the city whenever somebody wants to annex. So if you look at the gray areas up in here, those are areas where when someone says, you know what, I want to annex to the city, I want to get sewer and water, and I want to build houses. The town has said, you know what, we promise not to fight it. If you're in that area, we think it makes sense geographically for the city to ultimately be your home, so to speak, for that property. We won't argue it. Now, if you want to go in another area, the town might say, wait a minute, why are you annexing property over here? We're going to file an objection to this because we feel that this is unwarranted for the city to reach out this far into the township. So the one we have coming up now by 97, and I'm forgetting exactly where it is. I believe it's in this gray area in here somewhere. It's an area that is, the town has said we won't contest it. So what we're looking for the council to do is to understand what's happening here, who's bringing in what property, and then refer to the Plan Commission for further study, just to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed before we move forward. But I really just wanted you, Tom, and the public to know that some of these things, people wonder how planned cities are. They think, well, gosh, is it haphazard? No, I mean, we have an agreement with our main surrounding town here, McMillan, the largest town that abuts the city, for future growth.
Yeah, I drive over in that area a lot of times. I always wonder where can we as a city expand.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not landlocked. There are
No, we're not.
There
We're
are
not.
a lot of towns that they don't have any place to go. But we have agreement here with the town of McMillan.
We do.
It's good to know.
And
so.
the town of McMillan, like any town, hates to lose tax base.
Right.
You know, why do they want to see people building and have it become city property instead of town property? They want the taxes. But they also know that they can't provide sewer and water and other services. So they realize that there's a point where someone, if they want to do certain projects, would have to be incorporated.
Right, it'd be
So-
very expensive for the town to get involved with sewer and
it's
water. So,
not
all right, well, we'll see what happens
Yep.
on there. Probably getting a little bit closer to time, but let's keep
Yeah.
moving here.
Yeah.
Something with the block grant. That's important on how you get your. You could get your home redone in by a revolving loan fund. Is
Yep.
that right?
Just want to, I think we talked about it last meeting, but just to jumpstart it, we have 50,000 plus of available money, and we're expecting to get more coming back in. If you're watching us right now, and you're lower to moderate income, and you want to do siding or roofing or whatever, if you meet the eligibility requirements, you may be able to get a 0 interest loan. Like that interest rate?
Oh.
0 interest loan, and you would only have to pay the money back when you sell your house, you transfer the property, whatever. Until then, there's no payments. But we're getting somebody now, we're looking at Juneau County Housing Authority to be the ones to oversee it. There's a lot of paperwork. This is a government grant, and our staff doesn't want to do it. Well, not really doesn't want to do it, doesn't
Right.
feel even necessarily skilled to do it. So we're going to ask the council if they would let us sign an agreement with Juneau County Housing Authority to do all the paperwork for that
right.
project. But if you're interested, my number probably pops up here. I can get you plugged into the right person. Let me know.
Yeah, definitely. CVB, Convention Visitor Bureau, they're talking about rebranding.
They are, and I think we may have touched on this before. It's good. It's called Marshfield Made New, and they want to see as many agencies around like Marshfield Main Street and Mackey and the city come on board. So you've been involved in this, Tom. We've been talking about to what degree do we integrate their brand with the city. And I think what we're recommending to the council is even though we want to be shown to be connected with CVB and Mackey and Main Street, we're also the city of Marshfield, so we have to keep a little bit of separation. So what we're looking at doing is really the third option, which is to incorporate something that mentions the brand as part of our website, but doesn't fully integrate, so people can still tell that they're looking at the website for the city of Marshfield, because we offer city services that no one else does. I mean, we are the ones who pave streets and repair park equipment, but we want them to see that we're all on the same team.
Correct.
So when you see the brand mentioned as part of you're going to say, these agencies are working together. And that's really the main point.
Right, and it's a money savings down the road too, so you don't have three of us doing the same thing.
Well, it is.
It can happen.
Is. And I think historically we haven't necessarily been able to demonstrate that Main Street, Mackey, City, CVB are all on the same page. We're all on the same sheet of music. This is a way of saying we are. We are on the same page. Here's the brand. Here's the logo, kind of thing. But we're still independent entities. And when you call the city or when you go on the city's website, you really ought to be able to tell that you're dealing with a municipal government.
Yep, definitely.
So.
All right, we got another piece here on item S, electronic devices at meetings. That's gonna come up here on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, you have a sheet on this as well too. It's a couple of weeks ago, the council, in fact, it might have been 4 weeks ago now, Tom, the council talked about limiting the use of electronic devices of the people who are sitting up front. And you look at, I checked with some other counties and other cities, and I try to take the best of what they say, but there's three real reasons why we don't want to see excessive use of cell phones and even laptops for other purposes. First of all, it's just distracting. Secondly, it can look like you're trying to get around the open meetings law. Oh, let's see, hey, I'm writing to somebody, what do you think I should do? You're not at the meeting, but whatever. And then the third, it gives a perception that you're not really listening. If I'm sitting, I'll just do this for a second. If you're at the podium, Tom, and you're a citizen, and you're telling me, I have a concern about my road. Yeah, that's fine, Tom, you have a concern about your road. What did you say again? Yeah. So we thought it'd be good to have a policy, and the policy lays out the things that are concerns. The overarching theme is you should only be using electronic devices during the meeting if you're up front, to be looking at, reading, using meeting agenda materials. So your cell phones shouldn't be going off. If you have to take a call because you see it on vibrate, go to another room to do it. Don't be talking in the meeting room. You shouldn't be texting, doing social media or instant messaging during meetings. You shouldn't be doing business outside of the city. I'm looking for the best deal to Florida. Oh, I get a plane flight for $350. Yeah. None of that stuff should be happening if you're a public official sitting in front. So the idea of this is to say, look, basically you can read all the no's, Tom, but it comes down to the real yes is use your laptop and your phone if you have to be reading the agenda and the meeting materials for that meeting.
Yeah, definitely. You'll find this in colleges, Steve. A lot of professors I've heard will call a student out.
Will they really?
Yeah, they really do. Call them out and then take their phone away. It's embarrassing. Or he or she will actually read the
what's there
to the class. So
yeah, this sounds pretty important.
Yeah.
What are you doing after class?
Yeah, so I'm like really embarrassed. Not we're going to go to that level, but I'm just saying, we'll see what happens with this and where it goes. It ties into really Facebook Live for us.
It does. So. I know a lot of people, I'm sure you hear this too, Tom, talk about multitasking. I mean, I could be talking to you right now, you could be interviewing me, and I could say, yeah, the council meeting is next Tuesday. And maybe I can multitask, but the fact that I'm not looking at you and the fact that I'm doing this suggests to you, you're not really paying attention to what's happening today. And so that does raise a concern.
Definitely. Well, I was given the 5-minute mark here by our producer here.
Okay.
So let's move right on to we were going to mention something about an appointment with the Communications Committee. I'll just mention it. We were going to kind of skip over that, but that'll be mentioned.
Maybe we talk about committees in general again. You talked to me before we started taping here this morning about do we have a good list? And do we know, can we even put it out there so people can see, oh, in April of 2020, there's going to be a vacancy on the Park and Recreation Committee or whatever. Because we talk about wanting people to get plugged in, but I think maybe you and I could talk offline a little bit too about, do they even know what these committees do?
Right.
When we sit there, hey, there's an opening on the Historic Preservation Commission. Well, okay, I've studied old buildings. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about something else? So that they know what these openings are about. And we got 2 people we're planning to appoint to the Historic Preservation Committee, and that's great. They'll be back up to full speed for the first time in a while. But there's other committees that will be having vacancies all year long.
Definitely. I think what we'll do is down the road is try to put it together for citizens to easily understand what they're expected to do in a committee, what the committee's looking for,
Yep.
and because there is so many committees and boards here that I think a lot of people don't even know, and because it's not just the council. There's a lot of other people that come to these committees that are not on the council. That's how it works. So we will hopefully bring that. Maybe that'll be someday we'll bring it into the show or a piece of it.
That'd be great.
Just talk about it maybe before the show and a certain opening. Because we do have openings from time to time on a lot of these, and maybe that's something we can talk about. But that's the last piece you had.
The only other thing I'd touch on maybe is real briefly, if we got a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Is closed session. Again, we have 3 items on closed session, and oftentimes we all know I can't talk much about it, but people need to understand when we put something on closed session, there can't be any action taken until we come back in open session. So we could never approve a contract or whatever in closed session and never tell anybody. If one of these items, the council says, I like it a lot, and everybody agrees, we come out, it says reconvene into open session, we come out after that and we have to publicly take a vote that says, all in favor of this contract, and we take it. So people might look at closed session and say, well, you're operating under this big secrecy thing. Well, we talk about things where we're negotiating agreements because you don't want to negotiate in public. The other side will see what you're saying. But ultimately, when there's action taken under state law, that will always happen in open session, either that after that meeting at the end or the next meeting as part of the regular agenda.
Okay, but there are times though there is no action taken, so there's no
Often.
reason to go back into open. Is that correct? You can actually
Yeah.
Can you close in a closed session then? Close the meeting?
No, we have to come out in open
You
session.
still, no matter what, have to do that.
Yeah, there's a line down there that says action on matters in open session if appropriate.
Okay.
But sometimes people probably look at our agendas and they'll see the same item for weeks. It's where we're talking back and forth about a company we're trying to help, and well, there's no new information. Would you be willing to give them? Would we extend the sewer and water from? Oh, well, let's look at what that would cost. So there's a whole back and forth thing that sometimes take a while to play out.
All right.
So,
Well, thanks, Steve, for all that information.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I enjoy this every 2 weeks to come by and learn about what's going to be in the council. I think city government, municipality, it's interesting.
it is.
And a lot to learn. Maybe someday we can get a high school class involved in
That'd be
civics.
great.
I think that would be a way to go. Maybe.
Well, and really, I hope people keep paying attention, because sometimes people think, well, it's not stuff that affects me. Really, a new pool doesn't affect you. A new walking trail doesn't affect you.
It does.
All these things really have an impact on you as a citizen.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us here on our council preview. We do this every Wednesday before the council meeting takes place. This council meeting is going to take place on August 13th, 6 p.m., City Hall. Come down there. You're welcome to come in. We want you to come in or watch us online or watch us on cable TV. And again, we appreciate you watching our council preview program. I'm Tom Laux for Marshfield Media Access.